guys, and welcome back to another episode. We're on episode 43. So whether you're commuting to work, you're cooking, you're just chilling, this is a good time to listen to our new episode.
Sure is, sure is.
And yeah, without saying too much, straight into the news.
Okay, so in the news recently, China has decided to clamp down on foreign influence. So the central government recently announced sweeping changes to its education sector. So if you remember, either last week or the week before, I talked about the Ghana Education Service. So I thought this was an interesting juxtaposition among other things. So two of the many directives to come down from central government was a ban on the use of all foreign textbooks at primary and junior high school level. They also decided to limit the teaching of English in public schools. And in a move that has affected hundreds of thousands of foreigners who live and work in China, they have also banned all private companies offering language tutoring services, which is mostly English language tutoring service. Now, to give you some perspective, there are estimated to be 70,000 Americans alone teaching English in China at the moment. Now, China is a notoriously hard country to get a work permit / visa for, and the logic, their policy logic is that no foreigner should do any job that can be done by a Chinese national, which, fair enough. So one of the only ways actually that you can get to live and work in China is on a specialty visa offering language services, because there again they concede that no Chinese person would ever be able to teach or understand a foreign language at the level of proficiency that a native speaker of that language would. But now that has all come to an end, and they're clamping down on all of it. And their stated reason was that they would like to limit foreign influence on Chinese youth. And so they feel that the ideology and I guess paradigms, everything that are in foreign textbooks are not to their liking, and they would like to be able to, I guess, better shape young minds in China. So, and also this year in particular, they are celebrating some kind of anniversary, I can't remember what, and they've actually suspended foreign movies at Chinese box office, which has wreaked a lot of havoc actually on the entertainment industry, because like these days more than ever, a good portion of global box office earnings come from China, but they've decided to preference Chinese-made movies at the cinema. So many foreign movies, like Hollywood movies, haven't been able to release in China yet. Okay, so why am I even bringing this up? Well, as far as I'm concerned, China has always understood the assignment when it comes to China.
Absolutely.
Okay. They have an inherent ideology of protectionism of their interests, their people, their way of life, things like that. So when I hear and see this and I compare it to, I'm going to put it this way, how other countries allow China to basically have impunity and do almost whatever they want in our countries, whereas you cannot even get into China, much less open a business with ease, go into mining services. Who's going to let you do that? Now they don't even want you to come and teach their kids English. I mean, and yet here we have it where there are Chinese people in the north killing donkeys. They're polluting the water. They're apparently open stores in Makola. They're everywhere and doing everything all across Africa. And the very idea that their domestic policy is that no job should be done by a foreigner that they can do. Why have we not adopted a similar policies for ourselves? Why are we always allowing, other nationals to do things in our countries which are to our own detriment.
Because there are benefits in it for certain people,
Exactly.
I believe. Because otherwise, there will be no way you let people come in and do anything that they want.
Exactly.
And illegally too. Sometimes they get away with so much.
Because not to interrupt. I was like, people always like, Chinese are doing. We've allowed them to.
Mm-hmm.
How do Chinese nationals end up in some mining area in the middle of nowhere with their own militia guns and everything?
How is that
How
possible?
did they get? How is that possible? With the help of lots and lots and lots of Ghanaians. That's how. And who have been paid, and they're basically, we are always selling our souls for cheap.
Mm-hmm.
And not thinking about the greater good, the nationhood, what's best for us as a nation. And they have always been that way. And for this is a huge move because China has become obviously a global regional superpower. And they did this by opening up, and allowing trade and things like that. And they have come to the point where like, we good. We're good. We actually don't need, yes, we wanted the exchange of goods with America and the world, but we don't want you infiltrating us with whatever funky ideas y'all have. And fair play to them. I'm sure, communism is a hot mess and there's so much hypocrisy involved in it. But at the very least, there's lessons to be learned from everything. And this is one where we could even follow their own lead and be like, okay, same way we can't come to your country and do this. You can come to our country and do that. And do that. Why?
But the thing is also that in a way, I guess we can't say that because the Chinese are coming here. They're building roads for us. They're building so and so for us. So I don't think people in leadership can confidently say, okay, we can now restrict these people because they're actually doing something for us.
But here's the thing. We have a school of engineering and all that. We churn out probably 10,000 or something stupid. Why can't we build a road?
Because in our minds we think that they're not qualified enough. The Chinese it's ridiculous.
Common road, bridge, whatever. 50, 60, however many years after independence, we're still dependent on people who would not reciprocate in the same way.
It's not right. It's not right. We need to look inwards and look at the talent. We have a lot of talent in this country. That's not even the issue. We've got talent, so why are we not using it?
So I think, obviously, I'm sure somewhere there's written down. Well, my dad used to tell me in Nkrumah's time, because he knew how the game was played. You could not be same thing. You could not be a foreigner and own a shop. Why? And so that's how some people ended up marrying Ghanaian women just so they could claim, and so they could stay and work. But still, we need to do better. Take the lead from China and, understand the game. They've always understood the game. Absolutely. And we somehow still don't. Anyway, so that's
really unfortunate, but that's what it is. Okay.
Yeah.
So in the news, in Iceland, there have been some tests to see whether a 4-day work week would actually be successful, be okay to do. And the results have shown that the well-being of the employees actually increased, the productivity was not affected, and in some cases, the productivity of the workers actually improved. Now, they didn't go strictly by a 4-day working week, but they just reduced the hours to see how that might eventually work. So 2,500 workers, which is about 1% of Iceland population, was tested between 2015 and 2019. There was no pay cut, and the areas included non-traditional and traditional kinds of work, so offices, factories, preschools, hospitals, 9-to-5s. And like I said, the aim was to increase the well-being of employees. Now, other countries have also followed suit. They also want to try a 4-day work week. New Zealand has done that, and they actually saw a 20% increase in productivity. Spain has also attempted that, as well as Japan. Now, I think generally that this is a good idea. If you, as a company or an organization, you can afford to do that, then it's absolutely fine. Because how many times have we gone to work only to get into meetings back to back, and the thing that you're actually supposed to do, you don't get done because you're stuck in meetings,
or you zone out. You're like, I'm not working. You're just sitting there, but you're not doing anything.
Right. meetings that could have been solved over a quick couple of emails or over a short huddle. And lots of the times, and I've also experienced a lot of the times, meetings are really, really, really not necessary. They're really a waste of time. Imagine you have a deadline, you've got tasks, deadlines to meet, and you're stuck in the meeting. Half of the time, people are joking about this and that, or
like, are there pastries?
Strays,
Is there donuts?
It's
coffee?
really, it's I don't know. Of course, in certain places, getting up, getting dressed, getting your stuff together, sitting in a car is that's what's defined as how you're actually going to work. So you at a desk 5 days a week is you going to work. But the thing is, a lot of us work way too much. There's constant burnout. People are working overtime, in the hope that they'll be recognized by their superiors, hopefully that they get promoted. But at the end of the day, we always have to look at productivity. You working 9 to 5, Monday to Friday, doesn't necessarily mean you're doing a good job.
Right.
It just means that probably you're sitting behind your computer playing solitaire or on Twitter or on Facebook or doing whatever, right? And a 4-day work week, I think, would be really, really practical. People like having just a 2-day weekend. I just think it's not enough. Imagine you as a worker. Let's say you've got kids. Means you're using Saturday to do all the chores, maybe do some bulk cleaning and all that. Then before you know it, it's Sunday. You're groaning because it's getting to Monday. You have to do the same thing. I don't really think it's enough. And if you care about the well-being of your employees, you would think about the fact that they need maybe a little longer time to work. Working 4 days a week and resting 3 days a week, it should be possible to do. Again, there are certain companies, organizations that might not be able to, but it should be regardless. It should be on the table. Yeah, it should be on the table. It should be considered. And at the end of the day, the human beings are the company's best capital. So if they are not doing their job well, the company is going to suffer, the organization is going to suffer. So that is something we should think about. Even in Ghana, the traffic in Accra is absolutely horrendous. Can you imagine what would happen if we just had a 4-day working week instead of a 3-day working week, a 5-day working week? People are stressed. People are stuck in traffic for 2 hours. So that extra day might actually do a lot.
Right, so and they could probably stagger it. It's not that everybody will be in town on Friday.
Exactly.
Some people are off on Tuesday, some people are off on Wednesday.
Yeah, that will make it really perfect. And that's my in the news.
Wonderful. So before we move on to songs of the week, I just want to. It sounds like we're podcasting from a chicken farm right now.
I know.
There's some gangster out there doing the most. So I apologize for that. I hope it's not too disruptive. Okay, so songs of the week. All right, so I have 3 songs this week. The first song is called Collier, and it's by an artist called Yseult. Yes.
Where's that from? France? Spain?
Oui. So Yseult en Guinée is a 27-year-old singer-songwriter. She's from France, and she was born to parents of Cameroonian descent. And she rose to prominence when she was the runner-up on the TV show La Nouvelle Star, which is basically the French version of American Idol, if you're American, or Pop Idol in the UK. And this was in 2014. So after the show, she released her debut album in 2015, and she followed that up with 3 EPs. And Collier, the song, is taken off her second EP called Noir, and that came out in 2019. And for those of you who remember your primary school French, Collier means body. And the song basically talks about centering yourself, I suppose, sort of letting go of all the trauma, all the disappointment, and finding yourself again. And it's really, really quite beautiful, very moving. She's an amazing vocalist. And so, yeah, that's my first song, Collier by Yseult. The second song I have for you is called He Won't Hold You, and it's by Jacob Collier. So Jacob Collier is a singer, songwriter, producer, multi-instrumentalist, and a music polymath. Basically, imagine if Einstein decided not to pursue physics theory and decided to do music theory instead. Like, he's quite literally a genius, a music genius. And so his music is noted for its complexity and its layered harmonies. And so both his mother and maternal grandfather are renowned violinists. He briefly attended the Royal Academy of Music, where his mother is also a professor. So basically, they take this seriously and they know what they're about. And he got discovered by posting his reimaginings and remixes of popular songs, well, not popular, but songs, to YouTube. And he eventually caught a lot of people's attention, including Quincy Jones, who invited him to perform at the Montreux Jazz Festival, where he met Herbie Hancock. If you know jazz, you know who Herbie Hancock is. And he developed a friendship with Jacob, and they've actually since collaborated multiple times and are quite good friends. So after his show, his appearance at the Montreux Jazz Festival, his profile just increased from there. And then in 2016, he released his first album called In My Room. And it's just as it says, he recorded everything in his bedroom, played every instrument, recorded all the vocals, did all the layering, mixing, mastering, everything by himself. And how I even found out about him, he was on Tiny Desk. Shout out to Tiny Desk, man.
Amazing.
Listen,
Amazing.
Tiny Desk, 8 Colors Show, KXP. Your bases are all covered. That's how I discovered all my new music. So yeah, he appeared on Tiny Desk, and it was like a band, right? Probably a 6-person band. And it took me a few minutes to realize that he was the one playing every single instrument. So he had basically recorded this show 6 times and then edited himself. So he was on guitar, bass guitar, lead guitar, vocals, drum. I mean, it was incredible. Absolutely incredible. He has 4 Grammys to his name so far, and he's released 4 albums in total. And this song, He Won't Hold You, is off his album Jesse Volume 3, which came out in 2020. And it's basically about love lost, right? He's basically saying to somebody who has now left him that this new guy she's with won't hold him like he used to. And it's just, and he looks like, first of all, he looks 12. I think he's about 20 something, but he looks very youthful. He has a very youthful energy, but he has this really rich bass voice. I mean, look him up. You will not expect what comes out of him. Like, it's quite incredible. So yeah, that's my second song, He Won't Hold You by Jacob Collier. And my third song is called Cameras, and it's by Superjazzclub. So Superjazzclub is actually a Ghanaian indie art collective made up of 7 individuals who I won't name right now because there's a lot of them, who bonded over their mutual love of music, production, DJing, fashion, and visual arts, film, etc. So they formed in 2018 and released their first single in 2019, followed by their first EP in 2020 called For All the Good Times. They describe their sound as jazz fused with Afrobeat, drill, R&B, and soul. And in this summer, or 2021 over summer, they released a new single, and it's called Cameras. And honestly, it's really good. I mean, obviously, I wouldn't be talking about it if it wasn't. But I've been pleasantly surprised by their music. I like their vibe. It's very alte indie sort of thing, and I feel like we need more of that, just people stepping outside of the box and trying new things, and it's pretty great, so check them out. So yeah, that's me this week. Yseult, Jacob Collier, He Won't Hold You, and Superjazzclub with Cameras.
Okay.
All right.
So in my songs of the week, this week I have 2, and the first one is a song called Right by a group called Khruangbin.
I know them.
Oh, you do?
Yeah, they do funky jazz stuff.
Okay,
like, yes, one of their songs is like, in fact, all their songs are lit.
Okay. So Khruangbin is a
Tiny Desk again. That's how I know that.
Made up of an American trio: Laura Lee on the bass, Mark Spear on guitar, and then Donald Johnson on drums. And their name translates to airplanes or flying engine. And it's a Thai, so the name is Thai inspired. Now the genre is probably a mix of all other genres. They don't really like to be put in a box, so they say they make a global music, Some say it's Thai funk. It's just a nice mixture of everything. They have 3 albums out this far, but Right is actually off of a new soul album called Modern Love, which is a tribute to David Bowie.
Wow.
Yes, and
That's cool.
yeah, and Right is a remake of a song by Young Americans. And this Modern Love is a project by DJ McFadden and BBE Music founder Peter Adakwa.
Hey.
Right, I think
Hello.
I think he's Ghanaian. I looked him up, but I didn't see too much
Oh,
of him.
I
But
see.
yeah, so that's that. And Rice has got a very psychedelic, ethereal vibe. It's the kind of song that you play when you're just chilling on vibe. I really like it. It's so
Yeah,
like
their
in the
music
trance
is
kind
super
of-
vibey.
Yeah,
It's like 70s
I love
psychedelia.
exactly. I really love it, and I think I first heard it on I don't know whether it was on TikTok, but I heard it somewhere, and I was like, I really need to find this full song. It's really beautiful. So that's the first one. The second song that I have for you is called Loving is Harder, and it's by Johnny Drille. We've talked about Johnny Drille on here before, and this song, Loving is Harder, is off of his new album out, Before We Fall Asleep. And like I said, we've talked about Johnny Drille before. He made a song with Simi, Hallelujah, beautiful song. And Loving is Hard is a really beautiful, mellow, sexy song. The album was released in September, on the 3rd of September. And in case you missed it, Johnny Drille is Nigerian and he makes some really amazing music. I believe he's on Don Jazzy's Maven record label. And the album actually is a nice mixture of mid-tempo, slow songs, and even a bit of rock. There's one song, there's a bit of, he's talking about the snake eating, the money-eating snake and the monkey, whatever. And that song's actually really good. It's got a bit of a rock vibe to it. But this song is my favorite on the album. And that's my 2, Right by Khruangbin and Loving is Harder by Johnny Drille.
Wonderful. Okay, so on to What the F.
Dun, dun, dun.
Dun, dun, dun. Okay, so in my What the F this week, and this happened pretty recently, a New York man had the worst day of his life when he fell down a sinkhole into a nest of rats. Now, his name is Leonard Shoulders, and he was waiting at a bus stop with his brother when the sidewalk literally just collapsed and created a sinkhole underneath his feet. And he fell almost 15 feet down, yes, into an underground chamber that was teeming with rats. Now, if you know New York, you know they have a ridiculous rat problem. In fact, when it flooded, the Hurricane Ida, is it Ida or Ida? Ida passed through there, and some parts of New York were flooded. There was this little clip of some rat, like just having the best day ever, doing synchronized swimming things floating down the river. So some people were even shocked that rats could swim in the first place, much less this guy was giving us twirls and stuff in the water. So yeah, New York has a serious rat problem. Anyway, so Leonard was actually very fortunate to have been around people when he fell, because he said he wasn't able to shout out for help because he felt that if he opened his mouth, rats would crawl into it.
Nasty.
Can you imagine? Now, this poor man spent 30 minutes down there before the fire service were able to come and rescue him. And unfortunately, because of the fall, he fractured his spine and is currently paralyzed. And ironically, it's basically, they said that he would have died outright if not for the fact that some of the rats cushioned his fall when he fell on them. I guess. And so I believe his family have sued the city for like medical damages and rightly so. There's actually even a video, and it's really quite frightening because you're just standing there waiting for the bus, and then he just fell through, like the whole no earthquake, no nothing. Yeah. The sidewalk literally just collapsed, and he fell down and in there. And obviously, I'm just like, listen, I cannot imagine. Anytime I think of it,
it's really
being like rats crawling all over you, and you're 50.
Why hasn't New York done anything about the rat problem.
Because they can't. There's too much. New York is built on like 3 layers of under, because they had one underground system, and they built on top, and then so there's like there's so much of New York underneath that basically there's more rats than people, like many times over. So if somebody has to move, it's the people, it's not the rats.
It's really nasty.
So yeah, that's my what the F. Kind of scary.
It is. Okay. So in my what the F today, so imagine you give birth and then suddenly you've got swelling under your armpit, and then you go to the doctor and they examine it and then they squeeze the mass and realize that it's actually breast milk. So this is exactly what happened to a woman in Portugal. I think she was about 26. She'd given birth and then eventually found out that she was lactating from her armpit.
What?
I'm sure this was confusing for her, but this is actually a condition and it's known as polymastia.
Just another thing I'm adding to my list of why pregnancy is the worst, okay? Wow.
So it's a condition where you get more than 2 breasts and the additional breast tissue develops, and apparently between 2 and 6% of women are born with additional breast tissue.
Wow.
And this additional breast tissue grows as a result of embryonic development and disappears as the fetus develops.
Oh, I see.
So obviously your 2 stay there, but then the third is actually extra, so to speak. Right. And sometimes, in some cases, you would have an extra nipple also growing. So in 1999, an 18-year-old mother also was suffering from polymastia, and she actually had to pump milk from her armpit to relieve the pain because it was full of breasts.
I'm so disturbed.
Yeah, I know. I saw this and I was like, okay, this is actually quite weird. I've never heard this. And to know that it's actually a condition.
I've actually heard of third nipples. It's quite common. Apparently even Mark Wahlberg has an extra nipple. But there's not the actual, it's just the nipple. But to know that it can act like an actual breast.
Like an actual breast. And that's the thing. Pregnancy is, you hear so many stories that women really go through it. There's so much that can happen. You really don't want an extra breast, but if you have, I guess, maybe if you have triplets, then
one can latch on right there.
Under your armpit and just be doing your thing. So that's my really short what the F polymastia.
Okay, that's great. Disturbing, but great.
Yeah, absolutely. Good to know.
Okay, and now we're on to 2 Pesewas. And my 2 Pesewas this week is the fable of the scorpion and the frog.
Oh, look at you.
So gather around, children, it's story time. So the current iteration of this fable has been traced to 20th century Russia, but the story is apparently much older and is apparently based on a Persian fable from antiquity. So I don't know if you've heard this or not, but it goes something like this. A scorpion is at a river bank and wishes to cross the river, but can't because scorpions can't swim. So he's standing there waiting, wondering what to do, when along comes a frog also getting ready to cross the river. So the scorpion asked the frog if he would carry him on his back across the river. And the frog is very hesitant to do this because he says, well, what if you sting me? To which the scorpion replies, if I were to do that, then we would both drown. So it wouldn't make any sense. So then the frog is convinced and he's like, okay, fine, let's go. Halfway across the river, the scorpion stings the frog. So as the frog is drowning, well, as they're both drowning, actually, the frog asks, why would you do this, knowing the consequences? To which, famously, the scorpion responded, I couldn't help it. I stung you because it is my nature. So, why has this particular fable lasted through the ages and eras across cultures? Well, because it's subject to much interpretation and analysis. And some of the things that people come up with are quite useful, and I thought I'd share them today. Now, according to social psychologists, this fable represents a counter to the idea that human beings always make rational decisions. Now, if you study in quite a few domains, but I did economics many moons ago, one of the things that a lot of classical paradigm economic theory is based on is that human beings make rational choices. All things being equal, if something is cheaper, they'll buy more. If it's more expensive, they buy less, so on and so forth. However, more like modern theory has come to understand that actually a lot of human behavior is not rational in the slightest. But of course, way back in the day, a long time ago, this was built into everything, that a human being will always make the best choice for themselves. And I think now, more than ever, we know that is
That's
not
not
the
true,
case.
yeah.
And this fable is one of the, I guess, early manifestations of the concept that sometimes human behavior is completely illogical and unpredictable, which is, of course, very useful to know. Other theories have assessed it to be a political allegory where the scorpion represents government. I particularly liked this one. So we are the poor frogs, right? And we've been burnt many times, and because of that, we have a well-founded skepticism of the government, i.e. the scorpions. But then, of course, they present a convincing argument. They're like, it's going to be different this time. I wouldn't do that. We're all in this together. I need you as much as you need me. So we're just like, maybe this time it will be different. And you cast your vote for them and basically carry them on your back. And halfway through, it all ends in tears. And some of us in this part of the world understand that all too well. The disappointment, the pain, and literally leave us drowning, whether in public debt, unemployment, no electricity. We are here drowning all day long, all the time.
Or literally when there are floods.
Literally, I know. Like anytime it even rains a little. Others have also said that this is a caution against naivete, that you should always be wary. Some have also said the fable tells you to always trust your gut instincts, even in the face of a smooth-talking, convincing, and maybe this is a special one for relationships, the F-boys out here. If your gut tells you something, don't listen to the words, to walk away before you get stung and drowned, okay? And finally, some people... it's basically, some people suggest that it's basically saying that there will always be people that are so damaged and corrupted from whatever happened to them, their life experiences, that they're not only a danger to others, but they are a danger to themselves, and that their impulse control or ability to self-regulate is so broken that they do things that to their own detriment. They can be aware that if they do this thing, it will harm them, but they just do it anyway because it is their nature. So anyway, I thought this was a good life lesson to take, and that's my 2P this week.
Absolutely amazing. Mine's a little bit more boring, but
I bet it anyway.
Okay. So my 2 Pesewas today, we're going to be talking about bird nesting. So so take this scenario. I'm married, I've got 2 kids, I'm living a happy life until about 10 years later. I realized that my partner and I were not really seeing eye to eye. This is not working. We need to divorce. And this is where bird nesting comes in. Now, usually what would happen is you may split your marital home. The one partner gets a house, the another partner gets a house. But in bird nesting, what happens is that the main marital home still stays so that the kids have a stable home, so to speak, and then the partners just rotate in and out. So that's bird nesting. And it's based on nestling, where the baby birds never leave their nest. It's just the parents who come in and then feed them and then leave. So I actually think, on the one hand, it's a great way of achieving stability for the kids. The kids don't need to be shuttling back and forth. And if the parties respect each other, and if the divorce wasn't messy, obviously this is
because there's a lot of ifs in there. But
because if your partner has done really something really horrible before you got divorced, then this is obviously might not work as smoothly as you'd want to. It also requires that the partners are in the same location. If I'm living here in Tamale and my partner is somewhere in Koforidua, that's going to be difficult.
Right.
Just coming
To
back
switch,
and forth
yeah.
all the time. Now, what can also happen is that the partners, the divorced partners, agree on getting just an extra flat or an extra home, so that when one partner is here, the other partner is there. So they sort of share it. But what happens if your ex-partner or your ex-husband or your ex-wife gets into a new relationship?
Right.
What happens then? The whole thing becomes even more complicated. And it's also a matter of cost. Let's say you've put all your hopes and your dreams and your money into your marital home. Why are you going to get money now to get an extra house?
I feel like this is very much for rich people.
Honestly.
Oh, let's just get an extra house and then...
Yeah. And I just feel like also on the other hand, there's a reason why people separate, a reason why people get divorced. So at some point, maybe you might want to make it clean. You might say, oh, it's because of the kids. But the kids are not stupid. They are smart enough to realize that, okay, maybe my people are going through something. If they explain it to us, we might understand. But again, you don't know how long are you going to be comfortable doing that in and out. This used to be your home, but suddenly it's not. You're just sort of a temporary person who comes to take care of the kids, and then you leave. That can't be good for your well-being.
Because you never quite settled after that. Right.
It's good for the kids. I think it's good in the short term, but in the long term, everybody's going to want to move on with their life, and then there has to be another way. So while on the one hand, bed nesting may prove to be a good solution in the short term, I think long term, people need to look at it.
I think maybe when your kids are small,
yes,
it might be. But once they get to a certain age, where you can be like, no, mommy and daddy ain't getting on. So.
So it's a great way to co-parent, but then, like she said, in the long term, you might want to think about something else. So that's bed nesting for you.
All right, that's great. Very useful information.
Right.
And that's it.
That's it for today.
See you next week.
Bye.
All right, bye.